and more, I have come to admire resilience, not the simple resistance of a pillow whose foam returns over and over to the same shape, but the sinuous tenacity of a tree. Finding the light newly blocked on one side, it turns in another. A blind intelligence, true. But out of such persistence arose turtles, rivers, mitochondria, figs, all this resinous, unretractable earth. Optimism has got a bad rap over the past years. It's often associated with the toxic positivity movement, and people that are too optimistic are thought of as being naive and idealistic. But if you're Canadian today, optimism is a hard trait to come by. In this video, I would like to touch on how we can become a little more optimistic in our day-to-day. If you live in Canada today, there are just so many things that are working against us. There's the threat of tariffs. There's the threat of inflation moving up again. There's the threat of goods not being available. Everything costs more. Life is just a little bit harder than it used to be. And I think all of those things combined provide an environment that's absolutely anxiety-inducing. And the two biggest obstacles to feeling optimistic is fear and anxiety. Anxiety engulfs our ability to think positively and to move through life like a river, being flexible and being able to change directions when a rock or a branch comes into our path. Hi, my name is Raina, and this is Small Retired Life. On my channel, we tackle all the topics that pertain to retirement and lifestyle for the over 50, 60, 70, 80. If you're new, then welcome here. I said previously that there are really two huge deterrents to optimism, one of them being fear and the other being anxiety. For you to mitigate those two things, you almost kind of have to rewire your brain. The great thing is that your brain is a miraculous organ. It has the capacity and the ability to change, to learn new things, and to adapt to new situations. The concept of neuroplasticity is something that is being studied to a huge extent nowadays. In short form, what it means is the brain's ability to adapt to new situations and to create new pathways to cope with those situations. This all really begins with mindset. You yourself need to change your mindset from negative to positive. Now, of course, that's easier said than it is done. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity here, where you're, only in the frame of mind that you only have to think positively, that everything is good, that if you think positively, only good things will happen. I mean, that is not realistic, and that is kind of snake oil that, the positivity movement and some of this manifestation thinking makes us believe is possible. I don't believe in manifesting things to come true, but I do believe that positivity puts you in a different headspace. It perhaps allows you to make choices that are better for you. You kind of have to train your brain to realize that your emotions are not you. Emotions are simply, in a nutshell, a series of chemical reactions in your body that signal to your brain how it should be thinking. By thinking more positively, you are rewiring your brain because you are changing these chemical reactions that are taking place in your body. The new chemical reactions are signaling to your brain to think in more positive terms. Now, this takes practice, and it's like exercising. You need to exercise on a regular basis in order for muscle memory to happen. Now, the brain is not a muscle, it's an organ, but it kind of acts like a muscle in the sense that when it's exercised on a regular basis, it performs better and it's healthier. To help you with this, think about some of the worst moments in your life, some of the worst times, and think about how you dealt with those situations. Because the fact is that you had to employ tools, and these tools are still to this day available to you if you reach for them. You kind of have to look back and visualize the tools that you've used and then put those tools into practice again. If you're feeling that you're in this loop of negativity, Canadians right now, and I'm sure it's the same for Americans and people in many other countries, I believe, in my opinion, are feeling a greater degree of anxiety. It has to do with changing geopolitical situations. In Canada, we have these looming tariffs hanging over our head, and it's really hard to get away from negative news. And so we become anxious because all of this is staring at us, and we start thinking negatively, and these negative thoughts form these chemical reactions which allow your brain to think more negatively. And so you're in this loop basically of negative thinking, and you don't feel very optimistic. You don't feel good about your environment, your situation, also your future and your future opportunities. And this is where you have to really buckle down and work hard to get rid of these negative patterns, which can really impact your health, both physically and your mental health. For some people, you can eat more. For other people, you're not eating enough. Maybe you're not exercising regularly. And there's this downward spiral. Essentially, you become even less able to cope with these situations. One of the things that helps me a lot when I get into a cycle of negative thinking is to practice gratitude. Yes, we hear this all the time, and it seems really trite. You're like, how can this help me? But I think taking time during the day, whenever it's good for you, and when you can actually sit for a few minutes and really think about this, think about maybe 2 or 3 things that are really good in your life, and focus for a few minutes on those things. It's almost a form of meditation. I am truly incapable of meditating. I'm such a fidgety person, and my brain is always going a mile a minute. And the way I have found that I can kind of slow down my brain a little bit and focus on something is by practicing a little gratitude moment every day. I personally kind of think of 3 things that are in my life that are constant, and they make me happy, and I'm grateful for having them, and I'm privileged for having them. So the next thing I do is I do practice reframing my negative thoughts. When I'm faced with a challenge, I kind of look at it from the point of view, what can I learn from this? Where is the silver lining? What in that situation can I control right now, right at this very moment? I think into the future, but I act right now. When something negative is going through my brain, I try to halt that thought, grasp onto it, and reframe it from a positive mindset. In that point, I also try and surround myself with people that are typically positive, and that can help me and energize me when I'm not quite there. When I'm not feeling great and when I'm feeling really negative, I'll call my sister. She has that ability to help me ask questions, the right questions, that then kind of begin rewiring my thoughts and I guess rewiring my brain and the chemical reactions that are happening in my body. I get into a more positive mindset. And having people like that in your life, I think, is critical. It's hard if you're an introvert because we tend to kind of sit in our own little burrows and we don't often want to reach out to others. But I think it's necessary when we spiral into negative moments. It's also healthy to have people around us who are positive people and who don't drain our energy in a negative way. You know, my love of Stoicism, I've often said, focus on things that you can control. Focus on the now. That's what I meant earlier by saying, think about the future, but act now. That's really about controlling in the moment and controlling what you can control. I can't control our government. I can't control, the President of the United States. What I can control is to ensure that financially I'm in a place where my investments are sitting in perhaps, let's say, cash assets right now because times are volatile. Stabilize my investment portfolio so that it can better withstand these changing situations. Ensure that I have no debts. Ensure that I don't owe any money on my credit cards. That helps me wind my brain down a little bit and puts me in a more positive place. And those are things I can control. I have absolute power over my finances, how I spend my money, or what I do with my money. Control my diet. Ensure that I'm eating healthy foods, that I'm not drinking alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant and it can actually make you more anxious. So I remove those types of things away from my life so that I'm eating as healthy as possible and helping my body to be physically in a good place. Celebrate the small wins. Again, seems a little trite, but if something good happens, make it a moment. I will do things like buy myself some flowers or light a really nice candle. I started limiting the amount of news that I'm reading. I am such a news junkie. I love information. I love knowing what's going on in the world. I really enjoy reading about politics, culture. I like watching YouTube videos that are news channels. All that is great until it isn't. And let me just say that the news that is on 24 hours a day right now is not positive and it's anxiety inducing. I'm having to do a little bit of a news detox. I hate that word, detox, but I think it's appropriate in this case. I'm really trying not to look at the news too much. I kind of keep in touch with the economy and the financial news, but even that is becoming really depressing. So I'm trying to limit what I'm watching and how much of it I'm watching. It's not that I'm going to become an ostrich and just stick my head in the sand and stay blissfully ignorant of everything. I don't believe in that either, but I think I've become kind of to the point where I'm constantly watching the news, and I've just decided I need to get away from that for my own mental health and my own well-being. Luckily, I'm going away and I'm really busy and I have a bunch of YouTube work to do. So it has been really easy to unplug from the news for the last week. I'm finding I'm feeling better. So maybe something to try. Not sure this will work for everybody, but it certainly has for me. Practice self-compassion, I guess is the only way I can put it. Treat yourself like you would a friend who's hurting. And I guess that goes back kind of to doing something nice for yourself, celebrating the wins. But I think it's more than that. I think it's just being patient with yourself, being kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up over things that maybe you don't like about yourself. Practice compassion for your own situation and just for yourself. I talked about the fact that I don't believe in manifesting, but I think there is some value to exercising the concept of positive outcomes. Believe that something will turn out well. And the reason that I can do this quite often is because I really believe in my capacity to deal with situations as they present themselves. I believe that I have the resiliency to deal with anything. So I think that kind of helps me in being able to visualize a positive outcome. Of course, because I'm stoic, I do accept the fact that outcomes aren't always what we want them to be. But my general frame of mind is to think that something will turn out well. I feel that I control the things I can control as much as possible. I do the things for myself that help me feel more powerful. Potentially, that allows these chemical reactions in my body to believe that I will have a positive outcome. So I think as long as you don't kind of take this to the nth degree, like with anything else, balance is a good thing. I think there is some value in imagining and seeing a positive outcome in whatever it is that you're doing. Engage in activities that you love, like if you like walking, walk. It's good for you, number one. Number two, it helps your brain get blood flowing and oxygen flowing, and that kind of contributes to better health for your brain. The nice chemicals that flow through your body when you're exercising will help you be more positive. I promise you that any form of exercise or movement will help you think in a more positive mindset. If you love to go out for coffee with a friend, do that. If you like to knit, do that. Hobbies can make us feel so much better. Sometimes when we're doing something we love, like knitting or crocheting or painting or drawing or whatever it is that you love to do, you focus more on that activity and your thoughts kind of flow a little bit, kind of like the river that I talked about in the beginning, where your thought waves just kind of go into a smoother pathway. I don't know why that helps me, but it does. There's something about if I can kind of not focus on my thoughts and rather just kind of let them be and let them go. If I'm doing something pleasant, these thoughts often are more positive. I know that sounds weird, but I'm sure others feel this way. I mean, comment in the comment section below if this is true for you. Like, do you feel that when you're doing something really nice for yourself or you're doing something you love, imbibing in an activity that's good, if you feel like this? And when I say imbibing, I'm not talking about going and having like 5 glasses of wine, because that will definitely increase your anxiety. Staying physically active, mindfulness, meditation, these go back to some of the categories I've already described, but they do help because they focus your thoughts away from whatever negative situation is happening around you. Pinpoint your mind to something else. It's a distraction, a momentary distraction, but I think like any form of exercise, even meditation, if you practice it on a regular basis, it helps to train your brain. Now, like I said, I really have a difficult time with meditation. If anybody has any suggestions, please let me know what they are, because honestly, I'll sit there for like a few minutes, even like 5 minutes, and I'll close my eyes. Pretty soon, I'll find that my mind starts wandering off on something that I'm supposed to be doing later, or I start twitching, my fingers start twitching. So any suggestions you have, or any kind of tools that you use that help you meditate, let me know. But I really believe, and I've heard it said, that people that meditate on a regular basis are just calmer because they have this tool. Meditation becomes this tool that they can pull on to help them reduce anxiety. And again, reducing anxiety and fear allows you to be more optimistic. Finally, seek inspiration from, books or podcasts, or from other people that maybe you feel can inspire you. I will watch YouTube videos that I believe are really empowering. Finally, some parting thoughts. Did you know that if you're an optimist, you are likely to live longer? There's been numerous studies done on the topic. Let me read something to you. Research led by Louina Lee at Harvard University, analyzing over 69,000 women from the NHS and over 1,400 men from the aging study of the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, showed that optimists tend to live an extra 11 to 15% longer than pessimists. Optimists also show better health markers, such as better cardiovascular health, a better and healthier immune system. So clearly, for your own health and for your own longevity, it's better to be an optimist than a pessimist. And optimism is definitely a skill set that we should be practicing. All right, everyone, this is it for this week. I will see you back here in this space Tuesday next week at our regular time.